All right, welcome everybody. It's time for Silver and Black today, the live first round of the NFL Draft Edition for 2025. Thanks for being with us again. If you don't already subscribe to the podcast, whether it's on the audio side, if you're listening to us after the fact, do that, please. Don't forget to rate and review. Also, if you're watching us on any of the video platforms, please subscribe there. Hit that subscribe button, but also the like button. We can appreciate it. Even if you don't like us, just say you do. And also, don't forget the subscription and the bell. You got to ring that bell so that you know whenever we have a live video or a new video. To do that, Scott Branson with you and are my special guest for this live draft show. My good friend, former co-host, of course, Kelly Kriner, our draft expert. He lives and breathes the draft every day, so much so that the NFL has a restraining order against him because he's so far into the NFL draft. He does mock drafts every day at breakfast. No, not really. But Kelly joins us from Las Vegas and from parts unknown. I'm kidding. Is our good friend Murf from Raiders Fan Radio. He's joining us as well. Always gives us the great fan perspective, which is great. If you listen to his show yesterday, you got a lot of that. Hysterical show, by the way. But we'll get his comments too. Guys, it's great to be with you here. We appreciate you joining us for this live show. Mo Moten, by the way, will join us later. He's doing his big shot Bleacher Report stuff. So he'll be back later on after he gets done paying his bills and doing his job. So we'll get into that with him as well later. And guys, NFL draft is finally here. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, that's your whole season, right? Because it doesn't get better than today. And if you're a Raiders fan, boy, there's a lot on the table. And what they will do at number 6, of course, is the big question. We're going to get into that first. But I want to start with Kelly first. Kelly, you know, the first 5 picks that go ahead of the Raiders could change what they do. We just don't know what's going on. We've heard Ashton Genty. We've, of course, heard Shedeur Sanders, who's been falling. If you listen to the experts in the draft field. Top 5 picks, any surprises that you feel could happen, will happen, and what impact they could have on the Raiders?
I don't really see anything. I think the first 4 are definitely kind of locked in. I'm a little biased on this since I have financial reasons and repercussions if this happens. I really think the Bears are going to trade up to 5 to get Genty. If you look at the smorgasbord of guys they had in that backfield in Chicago last year, you had 2 or 3 guys one game, one guy this game. Every down, 3 down back is exactly what they need to kind of set their offense. Like, all right, we've got the running back, we've got the quarterback, we've got the wideouts. You can build through the offensive line the rest of this draft. The defense needs some work, but it's not too much. But yeah, if the Bears can trade up to 5, get Genty, that sets them up to make a run in the division.
There you go. And that's what I've been saying. And I know too, Murph, you've been very much in the corner of liking the fact that, hey, Ashton Genty in the Raiders backfield would be what they need. Of course, they had one of the worst, if not the worst, rushing game in the NFL last season. Yes, they need some help on the offensive line too, but a back like Genty could really help them. If he gets snagged before the Raiders, how much will that make you freak out and throw something at the wall?
Well, I'll probably curl up in the fetal position here on the floor, Scott. That's definitely going to be something that, would disappoint not only me, but I think a majority of Raider fans, just based on the interactions that I have with folks on the X there and, in our show and whatnot. It just makes too much sense. But if he's gone, then, it's kind of like the good news is that if somebody does come up and snag him, that's going to leave another one of these, potentially dominant players on the board, whether that could be like a Mason Graham or somebody like that, could be one of the linemen. I definitely, if it's not Genty, I definitely think we're going and building in the trenches. That's just a Pete thing and a Spytek thing. And it might just go that way anyways. Here we all are thinking about, Ashton Genty, licking our chops thinking, okay, we're going to get, an explosive playmaker. And then we're going to end up with Kelvin Banks or something like that,
Yeah, no. And that's true. But, the Raiders do need, obviously, help on the offensive line. There's no question they can use that, and they can also use help on the defensive side. We know that the weakness for the Raiders defense, in my view, I mean, there's a couple, but the defensive back position is another one. So you have some guys up there that could help them out. When you look at the series of needs that the Raiders have, Kelly, is of course Tennessee is now on the clock. They have 10 minutes for the first pick. Boy, that's going to be a surprise, Cam Ward. But Kelly, when you look at the Raiders' need, so Kelly is the GM, and you're sitting over there in Henderson, and you're deciding what to do. If Genty's gone at 6, what direction do you go?
I mean, obviously, you always want to trade down, try to get more picks. I don't see anybody trading up if Genty's not there, so you're going to be making a pick. I'm one of the few people that likes Tat McMillan out of Arizona. I thought he was the number 1 wide receiver, depending on what you think about Hunter, obviously. But he's just he's just a guy. He catches everything you throw at him. We saw the thing about he said he doesn't watch film. He was a freshman in college. Of course, he didn't like doing that. Nobody likes doing that. Of course, after a couple of years, you learn you don't say things like that. You don't be honest about it. But I really like McMillan. But also, if you get one of the 2 defensive tackles like Walter Nolan or Graham from Michigan, if you put them, we're hearing stuff about, Wilkes' foot might not be ready for the season, going to miss part of the season. It's like we have a big hole at D tackle if he misses time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Murf, you look at the situation, and it's always one of those deals where Raider fans have their own views on what the Raiders need most. As Kelly just went through, I think, a logical kind of non-fan position, like a just looking at it from a football perspective. As a fan, it would be nice to get one of these big names, whether it's Genty or one of the quarterbacks, of course, which will be gone. But the needs are there, right? You win in the trenches, as Kelly talked about. And so I don't think Raider Nation should get deflated if this is an offensive lineman, or, hey, if it's a defensive tackle, for example, out of Michigan, that's something that the Raiders need too. You don't just build on offense. Now, of course, I think they need offensive weapons, clearly. But there's no reason to be disappointed if it ends up being one of the hogs in the middle.
No, absolutely not. Because after Ashton Genty, it kind of falls off a cliff in terms of running backs. Yes, there are a lot of good running backs in this draft, but none of them are as good as Ashton Genty. So if you're not going to get him, then yeah, I think that you build in the trenches and you go lineman, and then you get Quinshon Judkins, or you get Dylan Sampson, or you get somebody later on in the rounds that will be there and be available. And I'm kind of with you, and I disagree with Kelly on the McMillan pick there. I think that on a player like that, a wide receiver, that's, to me, like, that's one of the last pieces to the puzzle. I think this is where the previous Raider regime got a little upside down when they traded 2 first-round picks for Devontae Adams. And while I understood the fit, and it's Derek's best friend, and and that team was pretty darn good. So I kind of get it, but it wasn't, to me, like, that's like the final thing that you do. We have so many other holes on this football team that need to get addressed first. Where when you look at a guy like, if it's Genty, that's a guy that there's only 2 people on the team that are going to touch the ball more than him. That's the center and the quarterback. So when you look at, like, adding a weapon like that offensively, that to me makes a lot of sense. But a guy that, on his best day is going to have, 11 or 12, 13 catches. Like, I don't think you spend that first round pick there. I think that you get more bang for your buck spending it on the lines. And because we do have a deficiency there, we do have a gap at guard. DJ Glaze, I'm rooting for him, but is there a tackle that could be improved upon there? And then of course, we need a linebacker. We need, like, you start going down the list, like, there's a lot of pieces that we could fit in here. And then especially too, if you add to the line, and when we look at, hopefully Malcolm Coops comes back healthy, and he has to be accounted for, and we'll have a good season. Outside of that, though, if Christian Wilkins, there's some questions about his injury now, like whether that thing's going to be lingering or not. We need somebody else on that defensive line that can suck up blocks, because Max, we saw last year before he got hurt, was getting not only double but triple teamed on defense. We've got to have somebody else that can be a playmaker and get some darn attention up there on that defensive front.
Kelly, will Graham be there at 6? Do you think he makes it to 6? And could that be a pick for the Raiders, to Murph's point?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to be there. I think he's one of the names you're hearing is falling because of the whole short arms thing, which we never hear about until the combine. The guy's been dominating Big Ten offensive lines for years. Same thing with, the LSU Campbell. I mean, the guy's been an All-American. And people say there's an SEC bias and everything. The SEC is the closest thing you have to NFL football and college football. So he's basically been going against second string NFL guys for 3 years, and he's held his own. So, hey, yeah, might have a little bit of a short arms, but he's a technician. We can kind of get around it. Graham's hitting the same thing, short arms. So I think you're going to see him fall, which is why you're hearing Walter Nolan's name pop up a little more because people, okay, Graham was the obvious number one. It's like, well, maybe not. What are we looking at? You're going to start seeing – and Nolan's the only other one to me that would be up for that. They are the top 2 D tackles, and it's not – there's like a big gap after that, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
And Kelly, you make a great point there. Like, who's got long arms? Tyree Wilson. You know what I mean? Like yes, those kind of things are nice, those physical traits, but that does not make or break. I mean, people get caught up on measurables. I think that's, you just look at the film. That's where you got to, what do they look on game day? What do they look like in championship games? Like that to me has so much more of an impact than how long a guy's arms are.
Yeah, Cleve Farrell had long arms too, if I recall.
Sure, there you go.
So there you go. Now, Kelly, listen, if Genty's gone, which with all intents and purposes, it seems like it, but you never know what can happen. So we'll see as the Titans have 8 minutes left on the clock until they pick Cam Ward if they don't do it before. But you look at this running back draft, and a lot of people that I argued with, of course, friendly argument, disagreements with, on Genty was, to me, in this draft, there's Genty. Now, of course, the size concern was there. Of course, you hear people talk about it all the time. I heard Lincoln Kennedy on the Raiders pregame today talk about how I can't get over that he's 5'9". I'm just, he's 5'9", he's 5'9", he's 5'9". And I get that. But there was Genty, and then there's everybody else. Not that the other running backs are anything to slough to the side, but you look at what the Raiders have a chance to do. And if they can trade back up into the bottom of the first round or even their second round pick, a guy like Judkins from Ohio State, who Mo's in love with, Henderson, I think, from Ohio State, I'm one of the people who think he'll actually go late first round. I could be wrong, but they were both projected in the second round. You look at those guys and a couple other guys. Scadaboo's another guy in the fourth round. That's not an every down back in my view. But when you look at this running back pool, who else could be there? If the Raiders go offensive line or defensive player in the first round and they look at a running back in the second round, who's the guy that people should watch for?
Well, Omario Hampton, if he falls, I think he's a first rounder. But I mean, if he falls out of the first, he would definitely be my choice. I think he's going to be gone. I think if those top 2 are gone, I'm not going second round. I'm going third and fourth round. This class is so deep. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa has fallen off the map, and no one's talked about him at all. If he plays in any other offense but that garbage ass Iowa offense that we have, you would see massive numbers out of this guy. I think he's a 3. He could be a 3-down back in the NFL. He didn't get a whole lot of passing work at Iowa because the forward pass isn't something they worry about there. But I mean, he's a name that's just completely disappeared. No one's talking about him. You pick him up in the fourth round, you've got a guy that you can plug in there day one, in my opinion.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's how deep it is. And I think that's something to watch. Again, you have multiple needs. So the best player available, of course, everybody argues best player available versus need. I think you always go with talent and who knows what the Raiders are thinking at this point, but we'll see as these picks unfold. Of course, our good friend Michelle, Murf's mate there from Raiders Fan Radio, says it sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher when they start naming names. I love that. Yes, I love that too.
RJ Harvey, Jordan James, Dylan Sampson. How's that, Michelle?
Dylan Sampson, you just mentioned another one, man. I think he's the kind of guy that he will find that hole in an offensive line no matter where it's at. I don't care who you are. You score over 20 touchdowns in the SEC. To me, that's impressive. You know how to get the ball in the end zone.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Murf, you mentioned linebacker earlier. If they draft a linebacker at 6, after they're done burning down the headquarters down there, they might go the 2 blocks I live down the street, burn my house down too. So watch out for that.
Be careful. If you don't do it first,
John Campbell.
Yeah.
Campbell's a great linebacker. If they draft him at 6, I'm leaving town. I'm getting out for a couple days. I'm gonna let stuff settle.
Not at 6. By the way, a shout out to Joshua Chambers, $10 in the super chat. He says Tyler Warren with the 6th pick. Let's go.
Run triple tight end set.
Triple tight end sets. Josh's $10 donation. By the way, we forward all our super chat donations to Murf and the One Nation Foundation, which supports Raiders charities. and we got a big thing cooking with them too that we're going to tell you about as we get later in the summer. Go ahead. You said something to say, Kelly?
It is.
What's
First off,
that?
yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Murf. Yeah.
Oh no! First off, thank you for the kindness that you all share with us, with your generosity, with those super chats. Thank you very much. And it is official. Cam Ward is a Titan.
He is a Titan. There you go. So Cam Ward goes number 1 overall.
Oh my God! Can you believe it?
What a shocker!
I'm just floored. I mean, who would have thought? It's like the same look I had on my face when the Raiders drafted Bowers last year, which is pretty hysterical if you haven't had a chance to see it. So there you go, Cam Ward. So the pick number 1 is down. Now pick number 2 is interesting because it's going to be the Cleveland Browns, gentlemen. And we've heard, and again, it's so many lies and misdirections happen during this time of the year that you just never know. So you look at the Browns. If the Browns stay there, is there any question it's Hunter, or do you think they go Abdul Carter, Kelly?
I don't think Kelly could hear you on that one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
That's okay. That's okay, buddy. So
sorry. My thing cut out. What was that question?
Does Hunter go to the Browns if they stay at number 2, or do they go defense and go Abdul Carter?
Oh, the Browns, if they've got to go Hunter, and they go Hunter because you need so much talent. If you got a guy that can play, and listen, he's not playing 100 snaps a game, 17 weeks in the NFL. Let's get this. I think Cleveland's got. I mean, if I'm Cleveland, I'm trading the pick because I need so much elsewhere. I'm taking more picks because you're not winning nothing for a couple of years. You've got that dead contract for Watson that's going to just kill you. Look 5 years down the line, not 2.
Yeah, and they still need to address the quarterback position there too. They're not even like the Raiders. The Raiders have, at least with Geno Smith, have a quote unquote bridge quarterback that you can win with, actually, if they can rapidly improve. Whereas the Browns have Joe Flacco. Now Joe Flacco does well in spots, but look, people complain about Geno being 34, and you look at Flacco, and the Browns have a serious problem there. And you look at it, Murph, and the Raiders and the Browns are those teams in that quadrant of NFL franchises that have not won a playoff game in a long time. And the Browns certainly need to get playmakers. And I think that obviously Hunter, great player, and just somebody I think that changes the whole face of a team, even if you don't have the rest of the pieces in place yet.
Yeah, and I'm with Kelly. I think that the best thing for them, if I'm their GM, I'm trading out. I'm gonna. They need to be in talent acquisition mode, not just superstar acquisition mode. They got a team to build depth on and address multiple positions, and you can't do that, by drafting a corner. And I know that he can be both. He's in the draft as a corner. If I am drafting, if they do draft him, he's the corner, and then maybe we'll have some offensive packages. Because again, I agree with Kelly. That dude's not going to take all those steps. It's hard enough to get prepared week in, week out in the NFL for one position, let alone trying to prepare to play both ways. But I could see him have some offensive packages, a la like the Cowboys used to do with Dion. Right. Or even like the Raiders, even once upon a time, would get Charles Woodson out there on offense. Like, not very frequently. I think Hunter, you can do it a lot more frequently with. But that said, I think that the getting out of there is probably the better move. But if they're going to stay,
Murph, sorry to interrupt you. The Jaguars have moved up and traded with the Browns. Let's see the early report.
Now here you go. Here comes Travis.
Yes.
There you go.
So the Jags give up a 2, and obviously they get the 4th pick this year, and a number 1 next year. So that's what it costs up. What do you think about the price there, Kelly?
So like it was the number 1 next year. That's all did I hear that right? That's all they traded was they're swapping picks this year and the number 1 next year.
That's what it looks like so far. The 5th for the 2nd pick, and then a number 1. Although we're looking for details as they come in, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'm reading Rappaport here. So it's the Browns get the 5th, 36, 126, and 1 next year. The Jags get a 2, 10. There they get the number 2, 104, and then 200. I mean,
is Jacksonville going to take Genty too?
No, say that again. I'm sorry.
Is Jax going to? Are they going to take Genty too? We've been hearing Jacksonville wants Genty. You still think it's the Bears?
Well, I mean, now could be Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I mean, Cleveland, you've got Nick Chubb who's coming off those massive knee injuries, a team that loves to run the ball. Genty wouldn't surprise me there. Although, if you can trade to 10, if the Browns could trade back 10, get even more draft capital, I think that's the best thing for them. But man, every year Jacksonville, I think, just overestimates the talent they have on their team.
Mm.
I mean, if going to Jacksonville, I mean, do you have him as a wide receiver to see, okay, Trevor Lawrence, you're going to have Brian Thomas Jr. and Hunter as
That's
your
what I
wide
think.
receivers?
Yeah, I
If
think
you don't
that's
do it
exactly
this
what you
year,
do.
you're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, but I mean, they just signed him. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
where are you playing him on this team?
Yeah, I think he has to be the wide receiver, right? I mean, to your point with Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence and the commitment they made there, having those two guys out wide out, like what excuse would he have to not perform
Yeah.
really well? And to me, that's what Jacksonville must be thinking. So to add him here would be pretty stellar, I think, for them. But you're right. I think that it's overestimating his offense. But you talked about it, Murf, right, on your show last night about the craziness of the draft. And sometimes some of these top 5, top 6 picks don't get traded very often. But this year's a little different. There's 2 or 3 players going into 4 or 5 where it's like, yeah, those are top tier. I want to trade for those guys type of players. But then past that, it kind of falls off. So that's why I think, and I said as we went on the air, that we're going to kind of see the first 5 picks and then the draft will unfold after that.
Yeah, everybody's mock drafts are shot already. It only took me one pick to prove my point about these stinking mock drafts, man. That's why I don't have any faith in them. And, and listen, I don't begrudge anybody for doing a mock draft. And I understand people have a job to do and you have columns to write and, and people want to do it on their free time just to play around with that. I get it. But the idea that it's when there's an arrogance behind a mock draft, that's when it rubs me the wrong way. When it's like, this is the way the draft is going to go. No, it's not. And you don't know that anything. And my point has been proven in one stinking pick that now the boards are going to get completely flipped. And so, but this is what was going to be so fun about this draft is that with the limited amount of quarterbacks that are in the draft and yet also some very, very high talented positional players that this is going to be, not only are we going to see a lot of movement, we're going to see a historic amount of overdrafting going on when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, it was like, to me, it was like Cam Ward and then everyone else. And I'm not saying that there's not some better players to draft in later on to where you can, develop those guys. I'm not saying that those guys won't turn into great players, but out of the gate, like there's not a plug and play quarterback in this. And here go the Jaguars.
Yeah. And the Jaguars, yeah, the pick is in for them. And by the way, if I'm Cleveland, and I think somebody said this in the chat too, that read my mind. If I'm Cleveland, I trade down again with the Bears, Kelly. Wouldn't you?
I just said that. Yeah.
Oh, you
I
said
that earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't
Trade it if the Bears will come up for Genty, they want 5. I'm trading down to 10.
Right, because then you get.
Let's keep going. Hey, I've got 2 number 1s next year. Whatever you would get from moving to 10. Hey, I'm trading down again.
Yeah,
because
you could get a 3rd number 1 pick next year, and then if you need to go get a
10 to 25, you're going to get a very similar guy, just depending on what position you're looking for. And when you're Cleveland and you need everything, you can take anything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's if I'm Cleveland, I got 3 first-round draft picks. I want and depending where they finish a little bit out of the top 10. They got 3 picks to move up. They can move up as much as they want.
Cleveland's going to be bad next year. They're going to have a high draft pick. Now you just have that extra ammo to move up to take, whoever.
Yeah. Exactly. So Jacksonville, here we go with the pick.
Yep, it's Trav.
It's yep. There you go. Imagine that. So there you go. So the Jaguars get Trevor Lawrence, another weapon, and I know he wants to play both ways, but in Jacksonville, him as a wide receiver is going to be a big thing. And you mentioned it earlier, Kelly, you're kind of joking about it, but if you look at Hunter and what he's going to be able to do, amazingly talented kid, no question about it. I think that the reason the fact that he wants to play both ways in the NFL, the abuse that your body takes in college versus the abuse it takes in the NFL on a weekly basis is not the same thing.
Oh, 100%. Plus, I mean, every football player will tell you, after week 1, you're never 100% healthy. If you're trying to do the both way things, you're gonna, the soft tissue injuries, the bruises, just being dinged up. If you're the number one corner on a team and the number two wide receiver you can work with. But if you're the number one corner and you're going up against a Tyreek Hill, a Justin Jefferson, one of these guys, if you're not at 100, you're at a disadvantage at 100%. If you're dinged up trying to play both sides of the ball, by that fourth quarter, you're not going to have enough to be there. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Well, and doesn't it, and just from a strategic position as a coach, I don't want him playing both ways, because if he's playing wide receiver and he takes a shot to the ribs, well, now I've lost my wide receiver and my number one. So why would you? It's just not again, if sporadically I can see it, but not on a regular basis. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And that doesn't mean they won't use him from time to time. Like if you need to, you can use him. I mean, because of the versatility there, you can, but it's just not gonna. I know, oh, he can do it, whatever. I just don't believe it because of the physical abuse that he'll take now. So now the Giants go ahead.
Oh, so to me, if you really want to maximize him, he's a full-time corner with 15 to 20 snaps a game on the offense, where sometimes he's lined up, sometimes you like run him out of the backfield, run like a reverse. You get the ball in his hands, get him in some space, but he's the full-time corner for me, because I could easily fit 10, 15, 20 plays in the offense to where he doesn't have to spend a whole time in with the offensive room.
Yes, and Travis Hunter is skipping down the hallway on the way to the stage. I don't know why they have him going like 3 miles to the stage, but if I was getting 30 million, 35 million guaranteed up front, I would do the same thing. I would probably crawl.
I'd have a golf cart or something. They'd be driving me up. People carrying me. I'd have something. We'd be going all out.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, Rossi with the joke of the night so far. If Hunter's going up against Hill, I'm assuming Tyreek Hill, the only thing he needs to worry about is getting pregnant. So there you go with Rossi from down, giving us his British humor, even though he's down in Australia now. So there you go.
There's an easier joke there, but I'll let it go.
Something about beating.
Yeah, let's say get beaten more ways than one if we go against Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, the Giants pick is already in. They're not wasting any time. So there's obviously somebody.
Or are they gonna, are the rumors to be had?
They saw him more than anybody, right? They went and saw him like multiple times, and I think they take him. Kelly, what do you think?
I don't think they do.
No.
No. Here's one of those times when you've got a GM and a coach that are worried more about their job than the future of a team.
Good point.
If I'm the Giants, I'm trading. Like I said, you tell me that just move to 4, New England, come up, take Abdul Carter. Then 4, if the Bears are wanting to move up, the Bears aren't going to move up to one space ahead. The Bears supposedly had a deal in place for somebody if a certain player was there. Granted, you could find that out. But the Giants need talent acquisition more than anything. Abdul Carter's going to be an amazing player. That defensive line, if the Giants take him, will be amazing. You put Shedeur there, it's better than Russell Wilson, who they're going to have, but you're still not winning a whole lot of games. It's like you're kind of stuck in no man's land, to where if you take Sanders, you save your job for a couple of years. You take Carter, you win a few more games now.
Yeah, absolutely. They should trade for another GM, by the way. Brutal there. Again, it's one of those things, to your point, when you're in the position where you're worried about losing your job, your decision making is different. So we'll see what that does for the Giants. The pick is in, but because they have to wait for these post-draft interviews, we have to wait for the pick, but it's coming in. This is the way this is unfolding. I'm not surprised that there was trades in the top 5. Jacksonville moving up, I thought was a little bit of a surprise to me, not Cleveland moving down per se. I thought, like you said, Chicago, but Chicago can sit there and say, hey, well, we can still talk with New England and Cleveland to jump ahead of the Raiders if they want to get that running back. And the Giants take Abdul Carter, by the way. So there you go.
There it is.
Kelly called it, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
To me, it's a no-brainer. He's the best player. Like, I would have had him as the number 1 player in this draft. Yeah. Like I said, Hunter, I could totally see people having Hunter 1. I get it, because you can do kind of both. But I know I'm not playing with both. It's like, So to me, he's the number one corner versus number one edge guy. I'm almost always going to go edge guy if they're close.
Yeah. Now the Patriots. Here's the interesting part, and of course, not just because we're within 3 picks of the Raiders pick, clearly, which is of interest for all of you, but these 2 teams have lots of needs, and so you can see both of these teams looking to move down. And I'm sure the Bears. I'm sure that Chicago to Boston and Chicago to Cleveland phone line is burning up right now to see if the Bears can move up and try to get that as well. But clearly, the Giants made their pick very quickly, so they knew who they wanted. And I agree with you. I thought Abdul Carter was the best player in the draft. But again, he plays defense, so the offensive players, Heisman Trophy winner, always going to kind of take precedent there. But you look at this, you look at New England, what they are going to do if they're not able to trade down. Kelly, what do they do here? Do they go in the trenches? I mean, with Vrabel there now and what he's known for, it would seem to me that they're going to look for some foundational trench level guys.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if it's not Campbell. Everybody, the pick, everybody's just assuming. I'll be shocked if it's not him. You could, I mean, he had Derrick Henry in Tennessee.
Yeah.
He could see Ashton Genty as his new Derrick Henry with better out the backfield. Who knows? But I'll be surprised if they don't go offensive line, because that offensive line's garbage. You have your franchise quarterback. You have to protect him. Now granted, if he hands the ball off 30 times a game, he's not going to get hit as much. But I just can't see them going running back. I think it's got to be offensive line.
Yeah, and you watched Vrabel down in Nashville, Murf, for all those years, and known as a tough guy. And of course, you can see him going as Kelly talked about, those trench level guys. Plus, that's what you need to build in the NFL. You got to build offensive, defensive lines. But what about Vrabel? You think that's a good move? I mean, clearly a former Patriots player, and I know a lot of Raider fans threw his name out there when the Raiders were looking for a coach. But what was your impression of him when he was down there in Nashville?
Yeah, well, being around Will and Taylor a little bit, mostly Will, but they have nothing but praise and high, respect for Vrabes. He's a gritty guy. It's funny because he's a player's guy, but he's a player's guy because he's been in it and he's won those championships. And so he speaks from a point of reference, I think, that really translates to players. And, you can be like, there's different, versions of hard asses. The coaches in the NFL, there's like the Tom Coughlin version, and then there's the Vrabel version. And it's when you get that version from a guy that's done it, been there, has got 11 touchdown passes and however many Super Bowl rings, you know what I mean? Like, or, touchdown receptions anyways, and Super Bowl rings while playing linebacker, like, the guy's got some bona fides, and so I think that he carries a lot of respect. And I'm with Kelly. He's a trench guy. Like, this is a lunch pail type dude. Like, this is a guy that's going to freaking, he's going to bolster that offensive line. While I understand, there's Genty could be in play here, but again, with the depth that there is in running back, I think that you solidify that offensive line. And there's too many good offensive linemen at the top of the draft. So I think that's right. Definitely where Vrabes is going to go. He's a punch in the nose kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like, you look at like Taylor, like that was his guy. What was Taylor? Taylor was a nasty left tackle. You know what I mean? That would kick your ass and, and shove you around, until he got hurt. I mean, he was one of the best tackles, if not the best left tackle in football. And he was one of Vrabes' guys. So, I mean, absolutely, I could see the Patriots going offensive line right here.
Yeah, and the pick is in for them, so we're waiting for the selection. So they're not going to trade. They're not going to trade out of there. Did you say something?
Yeah, nice balloons there, Kelly. You had balloons floating up in your shot there. That was cool.
Oh, look at
I have balloons floating. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm not joking. Like, you had animated balloons.
I have no idea what that was.
Your computer's celebrating. You must have had money on Carter going in the top 3.
I had Carter at 50-1 to go first, like 6 months ago when the lines first hit. I thought that was a ridiculous number. I was like, a quarterback's obviously going 1. Yeah. But I was like, I thought, hey, if they keep Vrabel, maybe Carter.
So it's interesting here, though, too, because now if you're the Raiders, you're sitting there. The Bears' chances of moving ahead of the Raiders, if the Raiders were to select Genty, if that's who they want. The Bears are running out of time here if they can't make a trade with Cleveland. But you said it earlier, and I never thought about Cleveland. Kelly, about Cleveland taking Genty. He's clearly the best player available right now. So if you're Cleveland, yeah, you need a quarterback. There's none left that are going to lead you right away, I think. So you start looking here. But do the Browns, do they go Mason Graham? Do they go defense again? They had a good defense 2 years ago. Last year, it kind of fell backwards a little bit, had some trouble. If you were betting right now and Cleveland holds this pick, which direction do they go?
I mean, it would just be amazing if they went Sanders, though. That would just completely blow everything up if they did that. Like, that would be wild. I don't think they do it. Man, I don't know. Because it's, I mean, they always try to have a really good offensive line. Could they go Membu? Could they go Banks? I don't know, because I just did not expect them to trade down. I'm like, well, they're locked in because, like I think it was a great move by Cleveland. I think it was smart. If they can, I would do it again.
Yeah.
But if they're staying, man, like anything they can draft is going to be a bonus for them because they can use everything. But yeah, man, if they draft Sanders here, man, this whole draft's it's gonna be wild.
It would be wild. Kelly, move your camera a little bit the other way so we can see you. Yeah, you're just falling out a bit for a little bit. And everybody wants to see you. And there's some people that might even be touching themselves while they watch you. So we want to make sure we help them. Murf, so we're getting down to crunch time now, too. We're waiting for the New England pick. Cleveland is on the clock if they're not trading. So we'll see what happens there. But, man, look, if the Raiders get to their pick and Genty's still there, what do you think? You think for sure they're going to take it? I mean, what is your intuition all these years being a member of Raider Nation? What does it tell you?
Well, it tells me we're going to take somebody that's not on any of these charts. is what it's going to tell me.
I don't think this isn't here anymore. Come on.
We'll take a long snapper out of freaking, Western Kentucky. But, and shout out Western Kentucky. But, yeah, I think, though, that the logic, though, it plays out differently here under the Spytek regime. I said it going into this draft last night that, the methodical nature, the very calculated nature that the John Spytek, Pete Carroll, and Tom Brady, the behavior that they showed us, because their track record is short, but what they've shown us already is that they're going to be those things. They're going to be methodical and calculated going through it. So I have no reason to believe they're not going to treat the draft in the same way. So that we're not going to have a holy crap moment. There's not going to be a big shocker. And so I think that, I think it makes too much sense for it to be Genty, and here comes the commissioner. But it makes too much sense for it to not be Genty. And and you mentioned how many times I've watched the draft. Somebody asked me that today on the Twitter. 43 drafts, because I remember the 1983 draft when all the quarterbacks were taken. That was the very first one I remember watching when I was 10 years old. But yeah, it tells me. Oh, there goes Will Campbell. There it is.
Will Campbell. Not a surprise.
Tackle that Vrabel. So there you go. So there he gets his nasty tackle, and then now it's on. This is where it's going to get real interesting.
Cleveland, the pick is in already.
Oh shit, that's not good.
This is going to be really interesting. So the Raiders are on the clock technically. This is interesting to see, because if you're the Raiders and Genty was your guy, we don't know that he was, but if he is, and Cleveland snags him one before you. Woo! We'll see what happens. I'm not trying to curse anything here. So, because I know people will come back at me and say, you should have said anything about it. Blah, 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 blah. But I just don't see. And again, no, I'm not going to curse it. But I just think here Cleveland has so many directions they can go. And like I said, I never thought about Genty to Cleveland until Kelly talked about it. But certainly a possibility. The Sanders thing would blow my mind. And then,
there's no way it's. I mean, there's no way it's going to be Sanders.
No, because
that would be great.
Right. Because the only team that we've heard that's interested in him in the first round has been Pittsburgh at 21, and you're sitting at 5, right? So if you're Cleveland, you would think about trading down again, but maybe they didn't get any partners or whatnot. So we'll see what happens there. But this Cleveland pick, man, Raider fans have to be sweating this too to see what's going on. With the Raiders officially on the clock, the pick is in. And I'm sure, yes, and Costas, absolutely, Spytek. Every GM has scenarios where if the player they want is only a pick away, they have their board, right? They have their top 3, Kelly, and they're going to run through that board. If the guy's gone, they move to number 2, and or move down if they have a trade partner.
If Genty's there and the Raiders pass on him, I mean, I just Raider Twitter, like I'm not shutting my phone off for a day or two. They will lose their goddamn mind.
Oh, it's weird though, Murph. I hate to say it, man. Kelly, this Genty to Cleveland thing, I would have never been worried about Cleveland taking Genty if I was a Raider fan, but now I am.
Yeah, I would.
I'm still. It's still. I mean, that's me as a Raider fan who's kind of talked himself into Genty. I'm just expecting something to happen to where we don't get him, and that would kind of be a scenario. I just can't see Cleveland taking Genty because you do have Chubb. I know he's coming off the injury, but that man's proven he can come back, and he's a monster. But I don't know, man. I just can't see there's somebody Cleveland's like, we're going to trade back down to 5 and not, or maybe they weren't getting any, who knows, maybe they weren't getting any calls. But they got that pick in awful quick for not to be somebody they really wanted.
Yeah, which will be interesting. I mean, you look at the players available, of course, offensive line there, but you don't have the quarterback of the future yet, but there's opportunity there. Of course, defense as well. Graham is still there. I think to me, that's the guy I still think, right down the road at Ann Arbor. I think that's a guy, I like him a lot. I think he would help that Cleveland defense get even better.
Or if it can't be Genty, because listen, I'm with you guys. Like if Genty's there and we pass on him, there's going to be a freaking riot on Twitter and in my house alone, just me by myself, just busting up. But if there's a reason that we can't get him, then I understand that. But man, then is this like trade out scenario then? Like if it's Genty's going to be gone, then I don't know if I'm drafting Membu here, if I'm drafting Graham here. I mean, either one of those guys would be amazing. And considering if Genty's off the board and Shador is not in play, if we're not going to go the franchise quarterback route, well then let's just get out of 6. Because listen, we need talent too. Like I know that we are certainly a more talented football team than the Cleveland Browns are, but we have numerous positions that need to be addressed and depth that needs to be addressed. So back our asses on up too. Let somebody else come here and take a quarterback.
I don't know who anybody would trade up for if Genty was gone though.
Yeah,
like
I think he's the last one.
I don't think Graham is somebody that people are going to put a high enough value on to trade future capital, move up very far at all.
Right.
So I mean, I think Genty's the only one people would trade up for. Now, obviously, we could be wrong, but yeah, I think that's the only chance you have to trade down is unless you just take a real below average, like you move back 5 or 6, you just take like a 4 or 5, just to kind of move back. You're not going to get much for that pick because I just don't think there's anything that people are like that excited about running up there for.
That's fair.
And go ahead, Murph.
No, I was just saying that's fair because you looking at the board. If it's not going to be New Orleans, if they're not, they're not worried about anybody if they are in the quarterback business because Derek Carr's hurt. So, but then do they need to move up to get him? The answer to that question is no. And then you're right. And then after that, you start going down the list. Nobody needs a quarterback.
Mason Graham goes to the Cleveland Browns.
There we go.
Oh, come on.
So if you're the Raiders and you're Scott Branson, who predicted on February 20th that Ashton Genty, so I really want to be right. I'm not lying. I want to be right about this. Oh, pick is in for the Raiders already. They didn't waste any time either. It's going to be Shador Sanders.
Genty.
Shador Sanders. No, it's got to be Genty. But anyway, Mason Graham, I thought he was a good fit. So my intuition on that one was correct. And so now we get to the Raiders. Now, people talking about the offensive line, Kelly, are any of those? We heard about a lot of offensive line connected to the Raiders at number 6. Are any of them outside of Campbell? Are any of them a top 10 pick in your mind?
Not in my mind. If Simmons didn't get hurt for Ohio State, he definitely would have been.
Yes, 100%.
Just linemen and leg injuries, knee injuries and stuff like that, especially late in the season. It's so tough, man, because you don't know how they're going to come back. You have to hit on a top 6 pick like this. So it's really tough to kind of go out for a guy that's been injured. Chances are he's going to fall mid-first, late-first. He's going to wind up being a great pick and steal for somebody, but you have to be in that position to take a chance on it. The Raiders aren't in a position to take chances on high draft picks. It's like
No.
we just don't
No.
have the talent to do it.
No, they have to. Yeah, they have to nail it. And it goes. So okay, Murph. So here we are. Tell me the emotions going on in that silver and black brain of yours.
Man, I'm in Ashton Genty mode. I can't escape that. They're like, there's I don't know what else, I mean, I don't know what other player would make me like excited. I wouldn't get fired up. You know what I mean? Like I could understand it if they were to address the offensive line and be like, okay, I get it, because that's something we need to address. But you know, it's not like our offensive line is bad now. Like, yes, it needs some depth, and there's, you know, one in particular that we could really use an upgrade on. But outside of that, it's not that bad. And this is a guy that averages a first down after contact. So even if, you know, we don't have that offensive line up there to create like you would, you know, ideally like to have, this is a guy that can do well running into and through past contact. And so, you know, he's a great a ball catcher, so he can be a safety valve for Geno, especially on third downs. Like, I just don't see any reason not to. The small school argument doesn't line up. The height argument doesn't line up. You know, the pass protection doesn't line up. All those things don't equate for enough of a reason to not draft this guy. It would be a very Raidery thing to have happen should that go down like this. If we end up drafting somebody else that's not Ashton Genty, it will be like, oh, here we go again. That's how it'll feel for me. So you asked him,
but what you said earlier about Spytek and Carroll being much more methodical, that's why I don't think it'll be anybody other than Genty here. And because the pick is in, so we know they're not trading back. So to me, it makes sense there. And again, Kelly, the running game was so bad. And yes, you need to make improvement on the offensive line, but their offensive line wasn't terrible either. It's not like it's top 5 or top 10. It's right close to top 10. I think it was 13 or 14. And there's stuff to work with there. You can also address it in other ways. You take care of Colton Miller, who's coming back off another kind of not a down year, but certainly he had some injuries and he had the surgery this year. So you look at that kind of stuff. And to me, that's why Genty made so sense, because the glaring need that you have there, along with another wide receiver, by the way, you do need to get another wide receiver at some point, is the fact that you got to get that running game going.
Yeah, you definitely do. And it's like Genty, like I said, he's a 3-down back. He can catch out of the backfield. He can do everything. So if you get him in there, you can thin out that room. You don't have to worry about what you have behind him. He's going to play, you know, barring injury, he's going to play. One of my favorite Genty stats was he was the leading rusher in college football, obviously. Genty, after first contact, was the second leading rusher in college football.
Yes.
He had more yards after first contact than every other running back did.
10 yards. 10 yards.
Yeah.
After first contact.
I don't care like what level of and he did it against Oregon. He did it against everybody.
Yeah.
And
even Penn State, that great defense at Penn State, he didn't have a touchdown in that game. It wasn't his best game, but he ran the ball hard. I think he had 82 yards. He didn't get to 100. But against that defense with the Boise State offensive line, people. There you go.
Yeah.
The pick is in. It is Ashton Genty. Ashton Genty is the Raiders' first-round pick. Raider Nation, lay it on us. Tell us what you think in the comments, and we'll get to them. Kelly, Murph, you're both happy, right?
I'm usually listen. I've always said I'm kind of anti-running back in the first round. I never would do it, but I mean, it's not like we're passing up. Like, there's not a Jamar Chase out there. There's not. I mean, like, we're not passing anybody up that I think is a superstar to take him. So it's like, I don't like doing this. I am completely fine with it. And as a Raider fan who's seen them go off the rails on draft picks before, I'm totally fine with worst case scenario. You just hit a double. Worst case scenario, this guy's going to be a really good running back.
Yeah, absolutely. And Murph, for you as a fan, I mean, you guys talked about it last night on your show. And by the way, Michelle, I said silver and black. Remember, she talked about her pet peeves for people calling it black and silver, which I totally agree with. But nonetheless, doesn't it feel good to, like, you really want your team to get a guy, and they actually get that guy?
Yeah, like for the first time in a million freaking years, man. Like, I'm sitting here trying to think of the last time there was like a guy that the majority of Raider Nation was rooting for, and then he ended up, in the silver and black. And I don't know, man, but man, he sure did give it away by wearing those silver and black Crocs out there on the red carpet today.
Yeah,
So Ashton Genty there for the good choice there. But man, yeah, it feels amazing. It feels like we won something. Like,
yeah.
And that's been an awful long time since we've had that feeling. And I'm telling you, man, and anybody that was a detractor, again, I tell you that this kid is going to flash. You were talking about the Penn State game, and that a lot of folks would be like, oh, well, we went up against Penn State. Look what he did. Yeah, but because he had a Boise State offensive line. Can you imagine what this kid would have done if he'd have played at Ohio State? Like, if he get him, like, in fair is fair. Like, if you want to, well, what would he do if he played an SEC schedule? Well, he would have had an SEC offensive line blocking in front of him. So what would he have done then? So, I mean, it's like all the different arguments that you hear. Shout out the group of 5 guys or buddies of ours. And they were on you could see them in the game, in the end zone, watching this game. And they will tell you that Penn State had, at a minimum, they had 6 guys in the box focusing on Ashton Genty because they knew you take him out of the game, that's how they're going to beat him. Well, show me another running back that when the almost the entirety of the defense is focusing on only you and not worrying about anything else, how productive are you going to be? And he still had that yardage in those gains. So I think this is going to be amazing for the Raiders. I think the Raider Nation, to anybody that was questioning it, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. He's a good kid. He's a hard freaking worker, and he's a badass running back. And I hope that a majority of us, even if you were unsure, I hope that at a minimum you can be proud of this pick, man, because this is going to be fun. God forbid something happen that's unforeseen. Outside of that, like, I don't see any reason why he isn't a freaking fan favorite, by week 6.
Yeah, and Kelly, you talked about it earlier, how well he does too catching the ball, which I think is big, especially when you have a guy like Geno Smith and the offense that they're going to run with Chip Kelly, what he's able to do. By the way, I still think the Raiders will get another running back in this draft, and I don't think it's going to be 6th or 7th round either. So we'll see, because I think they need to strengthen that room. But you look at his pick there. And what this kid does, not only the whole idea that Murf was talking about, how people, oh, well, he went to this school, he didn't play against top competition. They didn't say that about Devontae Adams, who went to Fresno State, right? They didn't say that about some of these guys. That's the thing that I think so many people get caught up with. And yes, you talked about playing in the SEC. Yeah, if a kid plays like that in the SEC, you understand. But talent is everywhere, and you see it on tape because you watch a ton of tape. When you see a kid and what he does, and then you look at the numbers like you talked about, his yards after first contact, that doesn't really matter, because as Murph said, you're playing behind inferior offensive lines compared to the bigger schools as well. And so he's out there creating. Not only that, this kid is really smart. And guess what, Kelly? He doesn't fumble.
That's important. That's another big one too. Now it's funny. I'm old enough to remember when Marshall Faulk was at San Diego State destroying everybody, and you never once heard anything about, oh, he's not really paying good competition. It was just like, Jesus, this guy's amazing. He's should have been the #1 pick in the draft, and then Cincinnati, he's like, nope, we're going to be smarter than everybody. We're going to draft the defensive lineman. Then Indianapolis is like, cool, we'll take him. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, like Murph said, he goes, it's not only the offensive line, it's a SEC offense where you have wide receivers. The holes he would have ran through at an Alabama or an Ole Miss, it would have been ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine his numbers? Go ahead, Murph.
Well, and on the small school thing too, I'll ask anybody that says that, who's the best player on our football team? Max freaking Crosby. Eastern Michigan, anybody? How many people were clamming for Eastern Michigan schedules when Max Crosby got freaking drafted? I know he was a later round pick, but my point being, though, is that it doesn't matter where you play. Tape is tape, ball is ball, and when you do some of the things that you have those intangibles and that athleticism, you can excel in the NFL. Look last year, Quinyon Mitchell. You think that anybody was complaining about him coming out of freaking Toledo? No. He freaking came into the league and balled out on the Eagle. Reed Blankenship. Shout out Middle Tennessee State University, my alma mater. Reed Blankenship. Kevin Byard, for crying out. Like, the NFL is littered with players from small schools. And also, too, Raider Nation, did you know that 5 of the Raiders Hall of Famers, we have 15 homegrown Hall of Famers and 5 of them are from small schools, from historically black colleges or from freaking group of 5 schools. Gene Upshaw went to Texas A&I. Freaking Art Shell went to Maryland Eastern Shore. Ray Guy went to Southern Mississippi. I mean, you see where I'm going with this? Like, talent is talent. The small school thing, get it out of your freaking curriculum. It's not going to be an argument anymore, especially now in the days of the freaking portal and all that stuff. If it's throw it away. It's not a good argument ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead, Kelly. You're going to add to that?
Oh no, I was letting Murf roll. But yeah, Murf's a happy man now. This is Murf's moment. It's like his kid just got drafted.
Oh man. Well,
it is funny though. I'm sorry. It is funny though, as a Raider fan, having your heart set on somebody and they actually draft them. That doesn't happen very often.
That's what I'm seeing a lot in the chat, by the way. A lot of people saying that.
Dude, I just hit a royal flush on the poker machine. I mean, this is like it finally freaking happened. Like I don't know if this has ever happened to this fashion. Ain't nobody sitting around, pining for Darius Hayward Bay back in the day. You know what I mean? Or Michael Huff or whatever. I mean, like, how many times have we seen this thing kind of go off the rails, man? And so for it to come down like this, man. If anything, I'll tell you what, it tells us this too. My whole point at the beginning of this about the way that the Spytek and this new Raiders regime, their approach to talent acquisition, here you go. Like this is now, they have now set the tone. We now would know what we're going to get out of them, probably for the rest of the history of their tenures with the Raiders. And I'm here for it. This is wonderful. This is awesome.
Yeah, and we're still getting people who are not happy with the pick. D-Nice 41, no running back should ever be picked in the top 10 almost ever. Jose Jacinto says, running back in the top 10, sad day for the Raiders. There's no one to block. Kelly, why does everybody think the Raiders' offensive line is so bad? I watched it last year.
Because the running game was so bad last year, so running backs sucked.
The running backs
sucked.
sucked.
The running back room was terrible.
Right.
That's the biggest problem. It's like, if you've got a league average offense, if you have a league average offensive line, you're fine. That's what you need. The PFF guys joke about get towards the middle. Yeah. That's all you need. Just get towards the middle. The offensive line needs some tweaking, but you also have young guys that are playing a lot. Hopefully they're going to better. Hopefully they're going to improve. Hopefully you have health. It's not we weren't the Patriots offensive line.
Right.
That's abomination. It wasn't that bad. But you also got to realize the guys behind him were. None of our running backs would have started on any other NFL team. Some of them wouldn't even, or a couple of them wouldn't even have made the roster. That's what we were dealing with. You can't, I don't care how good your offensive line is, if you got nobody in the back to exploit anything, it's just not going to be good.
I had one Raider fan, and I think I retweeted it because I wasn't trying to pick a fight or make fun of. But I had one Raider fan say that Ashton Genty was just another Sincere McCormick.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, that's just, again, marijuana is legal. Marijuana is legal in a lot of states, and clearly that shows.
As someone who was driving the Sincere McCormick fan bus for 3 years in college and in the pros, I can tell you that's a ridiculous statement.
Yeah. But back to your point about the offensive line too. Remember, in the NFL, Membu obviously goes to the Jets, by the way, at number 7. So they went offensive line, which is exactly what they need. But remember too, in the NFL, it's all about balance, right? You don't have a good passing game unless you can make them play honest with the running game, and now with the coverages in the passing game, you have to be able to run the ball better, which is why running backs, after about a 5-6 year period where you saw them decline as far as the need, now it's increasing again because they figured out these offenses. So this idea that you don't take a running back in the top 10 doesn't make sense, especially when it's one of your people were saying the biggest need. Oh, position of need. You have no running backs in your running back. 0. Unless you think Raheem Mostert's going to have a resurgence and he's going to find, it's like Benjamin Button, but opposite. Or no, Benjamin Button going backwards, right? He's getting younger. No, he's not. So again, nobody's 100% of people are never 100% happy, but it's hard to see any downside to this pick at this point.
No, but and I get it. If someone wants to be critical, I understand. Like if this wasn't your guy and you had your heart set on something, what I get. But just like going into this, when you asked, how was I going to feel or how was I going to think, going into to this pick? If it wasn't Genty, I wouldn't like it. And I would have had a hard time being like, okay, here we go with a lineman or whatever. But if that's what they decided that was best for the team, then they get paid a lot more money than I do for doing this stuff. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose to trust them that would have been the right move. So I would say to the fan on the other side is that I would say extend your faith out there and your optimism out there that it's going to work until maybe it doesn't. And then if it doesn't, then criticism is fair. But until you have a reason not to believe, then believe. I mean, we're Raider fans. That stands for fanatic. That means you're passionate about what this football team does, and you want them to do well. So now root for them to do well. I always say this on our show, too. We talk about the Raiders and root for the Raiders that are, not the Raiders that aren't. The Raiders that are have Ashton Genty as their starting running back in a previously decimated running back room, like what you were talking about there, Scott. So root for it to work, because that's the one that is. Don't worry about the one that isn't. It ain't never going to happen. So don't waste your time on it.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. And I just think,
Kelly,
absolutes are in the NFL are ridiculous. To say that you should never take this position in the top 10. The Raiders drafted a kicker in the first round. Okay. Now I know that was Al Davis, and I know it worked out for the Raiders as far as Sebastian Janikowski goes. But you look the last 20 years, 9 running backs have been drafted in the top 10. Okay, so here's the running backs: Jamal Lewis, LaDainian Tomlinson, Ronnie Brown, Reggie Bush, Darren McFadden, Trent Richardson, Leonard Fournette, Saquon Barkley, and Ezekiel Elliott. They all had pretty good careers. I mean,
yeah, but you're missing something. Because Cadillac Williams was in the Ronnie Brown draft, and so was another one.
Oh, okay. So I'm missing one.
So there was more. Yeah, there's more than that. I was saying, yeah, there were 3 in the
last 20
Ronnie
years.
Brown count.
Since 20.
Oh wait, yeah.
Yeah, since
Wait,
2000. We'll go back 25 years. Yeah, so that have been drafted in the top 10 overall in the draft.
Good Lord, was that long ago? Jesus, I'm getting old.
Yeah, it's okay, buddy. It's okay. Yeah, Jamal Lewis, Tomlinson, Ronnie Brown.
Yeah, the Ronnie Brown draft, Cadillac Williams was in there, and there was another one because they went
they went
3 in the top 5.
Round.
Yeah,
they went later in the first
round.
round.
No, but they were top. They were Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams were right after each other, I thought.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
I could be screwing later. That's a long time ago. I could be screwing that up.
Where was he drafted? Boom, 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 boom. Cadillac Williams. 2005.
Yeah, but yeah, like while you're looking that up, I've been a person. I'm not a running back in the first round guy unless it's a Bijan Robinson.
You were right. 5th overall pick. Yeah. There you go. That's the one I was missing. You're right.
Like I said, unless it's a Bijan Robinson, like Christian McCaffrey, somebody that it's not just a running back. You're getting a receiver out of the backfield. You're getting the whole thing.
Yep.
I can see that as well, especially nowadays when you have the spread offenses and you have those guys to where you're having more running back by committees. You don't have the 30 touch guy anymore. He's got the 20 to 22. And that's cutting down on the injuries. It's cutting down on just the getting beat up. You're seeing those elite running backs last longer than you used to. So I can justify a pick like that. But it's also, like I said, it's not like there was somebody we passed up on that I'm like, that guy's a starter day one. That guy's an all-pro. It's like we're not passing up a Megatron to take Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, great running back had a everybody knew those guys. We're not passing that up to get this guy.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm fine with it. I'm happy because I've seen them go zag other times, and I had to throw stuff. I don't have to throw anything today. I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, your boy Ted McMillan went to Carolina. So Bryce.
Oh, that poor bastard. That's possibly the worst team for him to go to.
What do you mean? Bryce, come on.
No, I like Bryce Young, and I like the coach.
Yeah.
McMillan, man, he needed a guy with a stronger arm that was going to be able to hit him. And I'll say one thing. I'll say a thing about Bryce. He's accurate, and if you get it anywhere near Ted, he's going to catch it. I mean, so it's the best thing for Young. I'm not sure it's the best thing for Ted. But
Yeah. Well, obviously, we're not going to go through the whole first round because the Raiders don't pick again. Now they could trade in, but we're not
that we know of.
That we know of. They could trade in if they could trade into the bottom, but I know we're not all going to hang out for that and do a 15-hour stream. But what I want to do, kind of sort of in closing here, is to talk about what's next for the Raiders. We talk about day 2. We have rounds 2 and 3 tomorrow, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And you look at what the Raiders still need to do. When you look at the second round, now that they have the running back chosen with Ashton Genty in the first round, do you go trenches there? Could you possibly go quarterback? I mean, you're picking high in the second round. There's some quarterbacks, that second tier of quarterbacks. Sanders could still be there, although I still think Pittsburgh goes there, but we'll see. You could also still have Jackson Dart there. Will Howard will be there. Some of those guys. Kelly, what do you do in the second round? What position player that you believe will be around is a good fit for the Raiders and the needs they still have?
I mean, I think you're going to wind up going offensive line unless, like, if we see a big run of guys, which is obviously possible. I think you'll probably see him go try to grab somebody on the offensive line. There's going to be like linebacker and edge. There's going to be a lot of guys, I think, that people thought were fringe first rounders. They're going to fall in the second. They're going to be real interesting. Like, I'm really like for linebacker, the UCLA kids, Schlesinger. I think he'd be great in our defense. I think he's going to be in there in the second round. He'd be somebody I would look at if that Boston College edge, Ezerike, if he falls, or even James Pierce. I know he's got the big red flags. If Pierce falls, man, it'd be really hard for me not to take him in the second round.
Yeah,
he's just. I mean, I don't think he gets there. A guy that might be there that I would love is Ravel from ECU. If Siobhan Ravel falls in the corner, he'd be a top 15 pick if he didn't tear up his knee. I think he's an elite corner. And guy coming off an injury, if we can get him in the second round, Genty Revel is a absolute steal for us.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that cornerback position is such a position of need. And so there's some players there too. When I looked at it, I actually had them going safety in the third round. I still like Winston Jr. out of Penn State. He had an injury issue of last year, of course, but just a player who's going to sink a little bit because of that fact. But yeah, I think offensive line and defensive back in the second round make a lot of sense, unless they really like one of those quarterbacks. I just don't see it though. Murf, what do you think when you look at this Raider roster, some of the guys you talked about on your show last night, when you start to look from a fan perspective and what this team needs to get better, how do you see them going, or what do you want to see them do in round 2 and 3 tomorrow night?
I like trenches. Now I'm the trench guy. We talked about Kelvin Banks out of Texas, who can play guard and tackle. I think a guy like that could make a lot of sense. I think that would be a really solid, day 2 pickup for us in the second round. I'm with you guys on corner, and I love that you called out Revel. That's a group of 5 guy.
Yeah.
Another group of 5 guy. If they want to go defensive line, Mike Green out of Marshall is an absolute rock star. If we are looking for somebody now, I mean, I think the consensus is that that's going to be Kuntz's job as long as he can be healthy. But if they want to provide some depth there and some pass rush, I mean, they could certainly go that route. But I like going to the trenches, and then I like quarterback. I like quarterback for our third round, if not fourth, and I like Will Howard. I think that it makes too much sense in terms of alignment with this team, with Chip Kelly and just the familiarity there and what his skill set is. I think that, that could be a guy that you could park behind Geno for 2 or 3 years. Because listen, if Geno plays well in these first 2 years, if we win a playoff game or 2 or make a little bit of a run or whatever, he's going to get an extension. Like, he ain't going to go anywhere. And so what then better than to have Will Howard sitting behind him? And we know that Tom Brady thinks that the league has a quarterback development problem, and so he's a firm believer in letting the quarterback sit back there and marinate for a while. And so I think that would make a lot of sense for the Raiders. Some people got him in the 4th round. I don't think so. I think that we're going to get our run on quarterbacks. I'm telling you, people are going to start panicking. Even especially after Shedeur comes off the board, we're going to see all the rest of those guys, all the Jackson Darts and all that. We're going to start seeing that stuff go. So I don't know if he'll make it to the 4th. So I wouldn't be unhappy with seeing them go, solidify the offensive line preferably, but I get it if they go defensive line and then grab our freaking developmental guy that when Geno's done, the guy that's going to quarterback our team for the next 10 years after that.
Kelvin Banks just went to the Saints, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to Banks was never going to make it. And you mentioned Green out of Marshall.
Yeah.
If he makes it to the 2nd round, the NFL's broken. That guy is no, seriously, if he falls, something's wrong with the whole scouting process. That guy's an absolute monster.
Yeah.
Anybody who's a halfway decent offense, you throw that guy on there, he just jumps you up another step. About the quarterbacks, I don't think we see a run on quarterbacks. I'm getting the feeling this is going to be like the Kenny Pickett draft, to where there was such a drop off after those first, 1 or 2 guys, that you're going to see people like Dart will be in the 2nd round. That's going to be the only one. 3rd and 4th round, I think these guys are going to fall, because once you get past the top guys, there's so many question marks about them. You're like, well, if we take this guy in the 3rd round, we get a guy just as like the fact that Tyler Shook, people are talking about him being a draft pick. I don't get that at all. Like, I watched him at Louisville, I watched him at Texas Tech. The guy's played football for 65 years, and he's got to where he is now. There's not a whole lot of upside the last couple of years. I don't understand why his name's being thrown around as this guy that's going to be like a hot property. It makes no sense to me at all.
I agree with Kelly, because when you look at the Athletic and their beast chart that they put out with all their, and I'm not a big fan of rankings and PFF scores and stuff, but just as a tool to use, they've got him as number 4. They got him as the 4th quarterback behind Sanders and then Dart. So I'm with you. I think that a lot of people like Jalen Milroe. I'm sorry, man. You got to be able to throw a 15-yard out. Like, I'm sorry. So I don't love Jalen Milroe. But to your point though, Kelly, will Howard be around? Kyle McCord maybe, and we know Riley Leonard. You could probably grab him, Scott. Shout out your boy from Notre Dame there. That guy's going to probably be a 5th or 6th rounder, for crying out loud, as a developmental guy. So there's plenty of opportunity there, and that's where. So if then, to go back to the earlier question, so then if we went trenches with a 2nd round pick and then went corner in the 3rd, or vice versa, I think that's some pretty good depth for the Raiders.
And you mentioned Will Howard, who I know, Kelly, you have to put aside your Michigan banner for a second. You know what I'm saying?
There it is.
Because he's a big Michigan guy. But you can evaluate talent, so put that aside. I actually, through the evaluation process and through the Senior Bowl the Shrine Game, through the combines and everything you heard about Will Howard, and watching him here surrounded by these crazy Ohio State fans, I actually like him. I'm not saying he's a guy who's going to come in and compete to start with, but as Murf mentioned, the Raiders, whether it's 3rd round, I had him mocked back in February to the Raiders in the 2nd round. I think you're right. I think they fall lower than that. But he's a guy obviously knows Chip Kelly's system. And if Chip Kelly likes him, I could see him being the most favored son status for this Raiders team. Couldn't you?
You could. But you have Chip Kelly there, so if they don't take him in the 2nd, they definitely pass on him in the 3rd. That tells you all you need to know about it.
That's true.
But yeah, to me, it's just you brought in Geno. Yeah, you always like to have that quarterback that you're trying to groom and try to bring in. But you took Genty in the 1st round. You brought in Geno. You're trying to win now. A 3rd rounder is a guy that might be able to start. Unless there's a guy you love, I'm worrying about backup quarterback stuff next year. Howard, I think, could be a really good backup. Yeah. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter, but he's like a Colt McCoy kind of guy. If you need somebody to come in for 3 or 4 games, he's going to keep the ship afloat. The season's not going to end because he's in there. But also, I don't think he's got enough there to be like, I'm taking this team up a notch. It's like, I will keep things status quo. We're not going to explode, but we ain't doing much else either. It's like, But you mentioned Milrow earlier, Murph. I've either read or heard somewhere that one of the draft guys was talking about a scout said that Jalen Milrow was a better runner in college than Lamar Jackson.
Oh yes.
If I'm running a team and one of my scouts say that, I'm calling security. I'm having the guy taken out. He's not even cleaning. I'm not even saying clean out your desk. I'll ship that stuff to you. You're getting out of my draft room immediately. Just Milrow's a great runner.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of forgetting exactly what Lamar Jackson was at Louisville. Like Milrow can't throw the ball to save his life. He's got a good deep ball, but that's it. Yeah, he can run the ball. I need my quarterback to throw.
100%. I agree. And that's where like fans get caught up in arm strength being like, oh, how far can you, the guy can throw it 70 yards. Yeah, that's fine. But can you throw the 15-yard out on a dime on time? That's arm strength in the NFL. Not can I throw it 70 yards downfield in the combine where it looks all cool. That's not what it's about. That's not where arm strength comes into play. So your point, Kelly, can you make those throws? That's where you make your money in the NFL, is throwing those tight windowed throws on time. And he has not demonstrated that the ability to do that thus far. And so I'm with you, man. Like I'd kind of be out on, and I would be out on every quarterback. And I'm not well versed on every quarterback that's in the draft other than just reading through profiles and watching a little bit of film and whatnot, because I'm not a film junkie. But like, if any of those guys fit that mold, if they can't make those types of throws, not interested. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And Swag Jeff is actually right. This is my third cigar of the day so far. Hey, somebody asked earlier what it was. It's the new Monte Cristo M. The Monte Cristo M. Not a big Monte Cristo guy. These are excellent, but at $30 a pop, they should be.
Oh my gosh.
I'm having my foundation David and Goliath after we get off the air, since I can't do that in the studio.
Ooh, the Havana seed or the
Havana seed.
That's the better of the two. I'll go to my grave. We're in the minority. I'm going to my grave on that one. That's the better of the two.
I argue with guys all the time. I'm like, what are you talking? Oh, it's just the Havana seed. I'm like, just
I don't get it. The Connecticut broadleaf. If you like it, cool. Don't care. Havana seed's better.
I don't smoke anymore, but I'm having a Michelob Ultra Lime Cactus because I drink like a sophomore lady in college.
You're holding it like one too, Murph. What's going on with that? You gotta give me a manly hold of that can. I mean, come on.
Trying to get it in the shot. We'll just get over here and just do this.
Murph's happy. It's like your champagne, right? It's like
exactly. Yeah, I had to make sure I didn't hit my computer
for the drafting. Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you. We're going to wrap it up. I know Mo was trying to get to us, but he got stuck with his Bleacher Report stuff, so he couldn't get on. But we're going to go over the entire draft next week. Kelly will bring you back on too to talk about the entirety of the Raiders draft, to get your viewpoint on how they did, where they did well, where they could have done better. And Murph, of course, we're going to we'll see you soon. And before we leave, as always, whenever you're on our show, tell everybody about the One Nation Foundation. Of course, we got some super chats. Thank you to everybody for the super chats, putting your money up there. It goes to the One Nation Foundation. Murph, tell everybody about what you guys do, and where that money goes.
So yeah, thank you, Scott, for asking, as always. So the One Nation Foundation is our nonprofit that we put together, an official 501c3 that gives all the money that it raises away to Raiders-related charities. Once we figured out that we can make some money with our show, we decided we wanted to give it all away. And so to keep everything transparent, and we started this foundation, and we give to folks like the good folks at Raider Dad, who are taking underprivileged kids to Raider games, the folks like at the Blitnikoff Foundation, where they're taking in women that are at risk of substance abuse and domestic violence and giving them safe spaces and rehabilitative and counseling services. Just wonderful organizations that we are very proud to be partnered with. So 100% of the money that we get, whether it's from super chats, whether it's from merchandise sales, from buying Raiders Fan Radio merch, on our new Dashery page, or advertising dollars, any of that stuff, 100% of the money goes to the foundation. And even if you're not able to support us monetarily, all we ask is just help support the show. Raiders Fan Radio is a vessel for the One Nation Foundation. It's not about driving numbers for our show. It's about driving maximum exposure for the foundation. So if you could hit a like, hit a subscribe, hit a thumbs up. Raiders Fan Radio goes live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And so support the show if you can, you know, in any way, whether that's a review on an audio podcast. We do the audio podcast, you know, every week as well. And that goes on every podcast service. And again, that is what lifts up the One Nation Foundation. And we're looking to hit some big numbers this year. We've got some pretty aggressive goals. We've already exceeded our goal that we had for Raider Dad this year. So look forward to presenting a check to Josh and the Raider Dad folks at their event this August. And then, of course, for the Blitnikoff Foundation annual dinner, which we will be at, which will be later on this fall. And so, again, we've got some pretty healthy targets, but we have a lot of faith that we're going to be able to hit that. And 100% of that is on the generosity of Raider Nation. I always want to make sure we clarify that. Again, we are just the vessels. We are you know, just a reason to gather. Is the generosity of Raider Nation is what makes all this stuff happen. So thank you, Scott, for the platform. Thank you, Raider Nation, for the support of the foundation. And yeah, thank you very much.
Of course, man. And listen, I know, and shout out to Jeff and Michelle, who've both been on, I see in the chat as well. So thank you guys for being there. By the way, I did get a private message. Somebody said that they went to your new merchandise page and they bought a calendar and they thought it was they thought it was Michelle. They thought it was going to be a Michelle calendar, and all they got was a calendar with 12 months of Swag Jeff and Speedos. So and it's the Jeff before he lost weight. So I don't know. Did you know he snuck those pictures in there? I
don't know. That came out of someone's private collection, apparently. I don't know. Maybe
I don't know who he's sending his pictures to. Jeff, what are you doing, man? You're a married guy, beautiful wife. Come on.
What's the return policy over at the old website?
By the way, don't forget to follow Kelly at Rating the Draft, as he's doing tonight, Rating the Draft. And Kelly, like I said, we'll have you on to go over the entire Raiders draft. Gentlemen, thank you for being with me tonight. Really appreciate it. And hello to you from Mo. Said he's sorry he can't be here, but he'll be back next week for the regular show. So, guys, have a good night, and thanks for being with me tonight.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Yeah.
All right. There you go. That's it. What are you going to do, right? The show is over. I appreciate you guys all being with us here on Silver and Black today. Of course, we are an Odyssey Sports Original Podcast. If you don't already subscribe to the podcast on the audio side, please do so. Don't forget to rate and review. You can get it wherever you get your audio. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, on Rumble, on X, on Facebook, on Twitch, wherever you're watching us, go ahead, subscribe there on YouTube. Hit that like, that thumbs up, and don't forget the bell. Hit that ding dong bell so that you get notified every time we have a new video or a show. Appreciate you guys being with us. There you go. The Raiders draft Ashton Jeanty at number 6 overall. And it sounds like Raider Nation overall very happy. So thank you guys all for being with us. We will see you next time, and we'll get back with you soon after the draft is over. Enjoy the second and third round tomorrow and the rest of the draft over the weekend. Take care, everyone. We'll talk